Hey everybody, Will here back again to talk about the weather. We're going to get right into things today. I'm going to try to make this as brief as possible, but there is a lot to talk about. First things first, we're going to look at the National Weather Service's watches and warnings ongoing. And as you can see here in purple, we have winter weather advisories expanding all the way from New Mexico up into Maine, along with winter storm warnings and winter storm watches. Those winter storm warnings here are in pink, and that's where higher totals and higher impacts are expected. However, if you live in these areas in purple, you're also expected to get some snowfall, just not as much. This is going to be a very expansive storm. Places as far south as Arkansas, maybe even northern Louisiana, northern Mississippi, northern Alabama, you guys are all going to see some snow. Before we get into the specifics on snow, I want to go over the severe weather threat. So this is for today. We have an enhanced risk of storms across southern Georgia and parts of the panhandle of Florida, surrounded by a slight risk from Louisiana all the way up into North Carolina. And you can see here in this enhanced risk, there's a higher area of tornadoes right through here. Tallahassee, Florida, Panama City, Tifton, Georgia. You guys are all under the threat for a few tornadoes this afternoon into the overnight hours. Damaging wind gusts are also a pretty big threat across parts of the panhandle of Florida as well as southern Georgia. Hail is not as big of a threat, but there could be an isolated large hail report or two in these areas. Looking at tomorrow's outlook, we have an enhanced risk across parts of South Carolina, North Carolina, as well as extreme eastern Georgia. This is all along the coast. This is also surrounded by a slight risk of severe weather. Tomorrow's tornado threat isn't as high, but there could be a few isolated tornadoes in eastern parts of North South Carolina, maybe down into the northern panhandle of Florida. Another thing to note, if you're out in a boat in this area, there might be some waterspouts. So if you are traveling out on a boat in the ocean around this time tomorrow, be sure to keep an eye on things because waterspouts are definitely not out of the question. Tomorrow's big threat, though, will be damaging wind gusts. Hail isn't too much of a threat, but parts of Florida as well as Georgia could see an isolated hail report. So taking a look at radar, going into the timing of this, as we go into this evening, 7, 8, 9 o'clock, we have some isolated cells moving on shore. These will all have tornado threats as well as damaging winds and maybe even some large hail. And as we go into midnight, you can see these all come on shore and then a line begins to form. And this line is going to pose a risk for damaging wind gusts and isolated tornadoes as it goes to the east. And unfortunately for a lot of people, this is going to be overnight. So as we go into 4 a.m., 5 a.m., you can see this line's moving across the panhandle of Florida as well as parts of southern Georgia. So go into 6 and 7, it's moving into Florida. And then up on the northern side, we have an enhanced risk tomorrow. You can see this line right here is going to go through, and this is where damaging winds are going to be possible. There could also be a couple isolated tornadoes, however, damaging wind gusts will be the big threat. And this will be tomorrow morning as we go into midday, and as we get into the afternoon, it's out of here. So as for timing this area where tornadoes are the most likely with damaging winds, it's going to be late tonight from midnight to 4 a.m. For this area over here into tomorrow, it's going to be anywhere from around 4 a.m. to noon as it shifts to the east. The farther east you are, the later it's going to hit. However, as we go into the afternoon hours, this should be out of here for most people. Now we're going to take a look at timing from our winter storm. Currently, we have snow ongoing in parts of Arkansas, southern Missouri, as well as parts of Oklahoma. And this is where it's just getting started. As we go through the afternoon, precipitation will expand in coverage and intensity. And around 9 p.m., we have a very large area of heavy snow ongoing, from parts of Arkansas up through western Tennessee into Kentucky up toward the Great Lakes. And this is heavy snow. In some spots it will be quick and move out of here, but it could definitely drop a couple of inches before it does so. As we go toward midnight into tomorrow morning, you can see the system really starts to get cranking. By 3 a.m. Saturday morning, we have snow ongoing from parts of Mississippi into Alabama, up into Pennsylvania, up into upstate New York. Traveling will be very hazardous in these areas, especially where temperatures drop below freezing. There will be some areas where snow is falling where temperatures are 33 and 34 degrees, but if the snow is falling heavy enough, it'll still stick. It won't have time to melt. As we go into tomorrow morning, this quickly zooms off to the northeast, bringing heavy snow to parts of Pennsylvania, upstate New York, New Hampshire, Vermont, and northern Maine. And as we go into the afternoon tomorrow, it really starts to move offshore finally, but it gives a nice burst of snow for New Hampshire, Vermont, much of Maine. Even Boston could see some snow out of this as this thing moves out of here. And then once we get into Sunday, this thing's pretty much out of here. Now we'll take a look at accumulations. Everywhere where you see this blue area is 2 inches or more. Where you get into these darker purples and even pinks in some spots, this is 6 inches to a foot. So you can see as this thing gets going over Arkansas, widespread 2 to 4 inches across much of the state. Northern Mississippi, northern Alabama, you guys could all see 1 to 3 inches of snow, much of Tennessee. And as you go to the east, these start to increase quite a bit. These areas all through here could see anywhere from 4 to 6 inches. As we go up into the northeast, these areas could see close to a foot of snow. So Little Rock, Arkansas, anywhere from 1 to 3 inches. Nashville, Tennessee, 2 to 4 inches expected. Knoxville, you could see anywhere from 4 to 6 inches. As you go up into eastern Kentucky, you could see 4 to 5 inches of snow. Pennsylvania, anywhere from 2 to 5 inches, depending on if you get under heavy bands. And then as you go up into upstate New York, Vermont, New Hampshire, and northern Maine, you guys could all see over a foot of snow in some spots. Anyways, like I said, that's going to wrap up today's video. It's really brief, but I just wanted to give you guys some timing and impacts. I'm heading back home to Arkansas today, and I really want to beat the snow. I don't want to be driving in icy conditions. That's why today's video is a bit shorter. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you're still here, be sure to smash that like button and subscribe for all your weather needs. I'll have another update in the next few days after this storm talking about the pattern upcoming. Things look to remain very active with more chances of severe weather. I'll see you guys in the next video. Have a great day.